Hey y'all, it's Crystal. Welcome back. Thanks so much for joining me today. I hope that you're doing well. But today, March is fast approaching. It's here in a couple of days. Time for the TBR. And once again, I've got about 192 books on my TBR, but it's fine. Y'all know I love to make lists and I love to make plans. And, some of these are prioritized higher than others. I get to what I get to. It's fine. So let's dive right into what I'm hoping to get into this month, or in March, rather. So for book club, y'all know, I say it all the time, but I'm part of Rachel over at the Shades of Orange Patreon book club. Our March pick is Fever Dream by Samantha Schweblin. This will technically be a reread for me. Technically, it is a reread for me, and I do want to reread this. Actually, it's a short little thing, and I think it's worth a reread. It's that kind of story where, as on a reread, I think you would kind of understand it maybe a little bit better, because it's kind of a strange one. So a young woman named Amanda lies dying in a rural hospital clinic. A boy named David sits beside her. She is not his mother. He's not her child. But together they tell a haunting story of broken souls, toxins, looming environmental and spiritual catastrophes, and the ties that bind a parent to a child. And it's written from like start to finish. There's no chapters, nothing. And I just remember really liking it, but it's a slightly odd one, so I'm very curious how the book club is going to, the chat about that is going to be pretty interesting, I think. I liked it a lot, but alright. The Stephen King choice for this month, for the Stephen King read-along that we're doing over on Brad Proctor's Discord, and Kelly Hooked on Books spins our King wheel for us. Salem's Lot. Okay, another King I've not read. I know I have not read Salem's Lot. I'm as surprised as you are. I don't even own this book. I'm surprised as you are, I know. But yeah, I'm excited to read Salem's Lot. This is a classic King, so yeah, super excited for that. Alrighty. For the From Hell book club, which is hosted, again, Kelly Hooked on Books. Basically, if she's reading it, I'm reading it. The March pick is Exquisite Corpse by Poppy C. Bright, and I am so excited to finally read this book. So excited. So, yeah. I don't even really know much of what this is about, and I don't actually even really care. I just want to read it. You know what I mean? It's one of those types of books. Okay, another planned buddy read that I have with Kelly. And it's also part of my 10 books for 10 decades reading challenge, is The Color Purple by Alice Walker. I shamefully haven't read The Color Purple, and so I think it's time. I think it is time. I think it's gonna be sad, but we'll see. We'll see as we learn about Celie writing her letters to God, right? I think is how it's written in, letters. So, I'm excited to finally get into this. That's gonna be good, I think. Very excited. Alright, I'm joining in a read-along for that Steve Talks Books. I think there's a few others. The Grey Bastards by Jonathan French. This is a fantasy story. The Grey Bastards are like this sort of this group. Some people call them outcasts, some call them savages. They've been called worse by their own mothers, but Jackal is proud to be a Grey Bastard, He and his fellow half-orcs are sworn brothers, fighting side by side in the hard wastes of the Lot lands, spilling their own damn blood to keep civilized folks safe. So, won't read much else, but it just sounds like a lot of fun. It's kind of like hard scrabble group of fellas. I'm looking forward to this one, and it's not too crazy long. for fantasy. And this is the start of a series, so I'm looking forward to that. I'll link Steve. I'll link Kelly, Brad, who else have I mentioned so far? It's Steve. I'll link all their channels below so you can check them out. Speaking of Brad Proctor, we have a plan to buddy read to finally dig into Black Livered Red Wolf by Marlon James, and I'm so excited. I cannot wait to read this book. It's a big fantasy book. I don't even know much about it. I'm gonna be I just know that I've been wanting to read it since it came out, but I've been a little intimidated. I heard that some of the things I think are kind of brutal, and not that that doesn't intimidate me. I don't know, I'm just intimidated by it. I don't know why. I know there's some people really hate it, but some people really love it, so I'm paying more attention to the people that really love it, and I really want to get into it. And the second book just came out, so I just want to read it, and I think buddy reading it was a good way to get through it. Because it's a chunky book. It would fit for March of the Mammoths for sure, I think. Maybe not quite. I can't remember the page count for March of the Mammoths, but it's a big one. I got it on my Kindle, so. And another, of course, I will be continuing with this big chunky book too, House of Chains by Steven Erikson, and I finished part 2, and so I'll get to start fresh with got parts 3 and 4 left, and I'm reading this with Jason at Jason's Weird Reads, and we're just really slowly making our way through it and really enjoying it that way, I think. So I'll read what I get to of it this month. There's no pressure. We're just taking our time with it. So and I'm enjoying making my way through it. It's kind of slowly that way, honestly. We were gonna blaze through these things once, a book every couple of months, but it doesn't fit with our reading styles. so we're reading when we can. Okay, what next? Okay, my reread that I've got planned for this month. I picked out 12 books that I wanted to reread this year, so basically one a month. And since I got so much big stuff on my list for this month, I thought I would do my Paper Girls reread for this month, since these are just graphic novels and it's just a six book series. The rereads will basically be 1s through 5. I've read those already, and then but I never finished it out for some reason with book 6. So I'm really looking forward to getting back into this story, because I've forgotten some of it for sure. But I am, this is a kind of complex story with time travel, and I don't know. It's a good one, but I'm looking forward to rereading these and then finishing out the series. How amazing would that be to actually finish something? Okay. Let's see, what am I, 12 for 12, 12 for 12 challenge. That is 12 friends recommended you 12 books that you read throughout the year. This month I'm going to try to get to Well Met by Jen DeLuca. It's a cute little romance book. I think it'll be fun to mix in some of these heavier fantasies that I've got on the list this month, and I'll pick it up on audio at some point through the month. I think this one is taking place at a Renaissance fair from what I remember, so it just sounds cute and fun. I'm going to look forward to that. Okay, so my poetry collection for the month. I'm trying to dig into poetry more this year. I've mentioned that before, but I have this one sitting on my shelves. I Become a Delight to My Enemies by Sarah Peters. Let's see. So, in an uncanny town, a town like any other, a town like no other, women tell their stories of brutality. They tell stories of the common degradation they survive, of the relentless misogyny they endure, and the town's men who leave violence and pain in their wake. And they tell their stories of the chancellor whose horrors shape them and their powers cages them, and of what happens inside his hideous farmhouse. It goes from there. This is phantasmagoric mix of forms and styles, a vicious, beautiful meditation on the violence and shame inflicted on the female body and psyche. Sounds pretty good, right? So I'm actually pretty excited about this one. So again, I do a poem a day kind of thing. So I'll work my way through this one in March, and this cover is pretty gnarly, isn't it? I'm excited. I'm excited about that. That sounds really cool. Now that I've read it again, I'm like, oh yeah, that sounded really cool. That's why I picked that up. Okay, what's next? My short stories for the month. Okay, so again, I read a short story a day-ish. I might miss a day here and there, but March is Women's History Month, so I try to pick a lot of female authors to kind of mix into some of this from my reading this month. They're not all female authors, of course, but anyway, for this poetry and the short stories at least, I tried to pick some female authors, and I'm going to dig into this Dorothy Allison collection. Good grief, words. Dorothy Allison collection called Trash. Dorothy Allison is a fantastic author. If you've never read Bastard Out of Carolina, I mean, it's going to be good. So this is collecting some of her early work and presents the themes that have established her as one of America's most admired and beloved writers. Fearlessly honest, startling in its vivid depiction of class, poverty, and sexuality, as well as violence, compassion, and the way out. So I'm just excited to read some Dorothy Allison, and I've of course never experienced any of her short stories, so very excited about that. So this will get me probably about halfway through the month, ish. So I also picked up Margaret Atwood's Wilderness Tips. This is one of her short story collections, and I've not read any Atwood short stories, so this only has 10 stories in it. So yeah, I'm really excited about this one. So let's say these stories charts the complexities of modern life, explores the strange and secret places of the heart. It goes from there. It's short stories, so we'll dive into this month. And I kind of love this cover. It's like this bug. So I'm excited for that. I'm excited for all of these. I mean, who am I kidding? What's next? Another buddy read. Kelsey over Slime and Slashers. I think this is going to be one of her kind of group reads that she's going to do next month in March. Ian Banks's The Wasp Factory. This was sitting on my shelf for a long time, and I've been wanting to read it. She threw it out there as a choice for reading it next month, and I said, I want to read this with you. Let's read it together. So we're going to read this. I'm going to dive into this. It's a short little thing. So 2 years after I killed Blythe, I murdered my young brother Paul for quite different reasons than I disposed of Blythe. Then a year after that, I did for my young cousin Esmeralda, more or less on a whim. That's my score to date, 3. I haven't killed anybody for years. I don't intend to ever again. It was just a stage I was going through. So it says, enter if you can bear it to the extraordinary and private world of Frank. Just 16 and unconventional, to say the least. So, I'm so excited to read this. Finally. Yeah. I'm jazzed about that. Can't wait. And the VC Andrews read along, of course, that I'm doing with Kelly Hooked on Books, and there's a small group of us reading through that on Instagram. I will link her Instagram below if you want to jump in. We're continuing on with the Dollenganger series, book 3, If There Be Thorns. I'm just like, what's going to happen now? You know what I mean? What's going to happen now? I don't know. Lord, we'll see. I'll try to pick that up on audio somewhere, I'm sure, and get through that somehow. I'm like, what could happen now? I don't even know. But anyway, another kind of a late addition to the TBR is Into the Dark by Claudia Gray. This is another part of the Star Wars High Republic. Brad Proctor and I read Light of the Jedi recently, really liked it, so we were like, let's continue on, let's read the next, let's read some more. And so we're going to dig into this one in March. This is a YA entry into the series. One thing actually I really enjoy about Disney books, the Star Wars books, is they put out all levels. They have from children's picture books, middle grade, YA, adult, and they all, kind of interlink the stories of, and relate these stories, again, as we're introducing, the High Republic in a way for all levels. And I don't know, I personally love that. So, whatever. Like I said, this is a YA entry into the series. I think this is a new character that we're going to be introduced in here. He's a Padawan. I don't know how you say his name. Wreath Silas. So, I don't really know what it's about. I'm just going to read it. It's going to be good. So, looking forward to that as well. Okay, that takes care of that. Now, it's March. There's always a lot of events in March, it seems. And I'm going to try to get to 2 of them. That's about all I can probably squeeze in. And one of these is really a big maybe. And that's this first one because of Koreadathon. That's hosted by Books with Chloe and Monica Kim. And it's just one of those week-long readathons from March 7th through the 13th. And they've got a group book and like all kinds of prompts and stuff. But I'm not going to have time to do all of that. But if I have time that week, I wouldn't mind trying to at least maybe read one Korean book. I do have The Good Son on my shelf by Yoo Jung-jung. I've not read anything by her, so this one's, of course, sounds good. And that's just translated by Cheong Kim from Korean. And so this one is early one morning, 25-year-old Yu Jin wakes up to a strange metallic smell. He soon discovers his mother's murdered body lying in a pool of blood at the bottom of the stairs. Having suffered from seizures for her whole life, he's remembering that maybe she was calling for help, things like that. And so the son is left trying to figure out what happened. It sounds pretty great. And again, I would just, I'd love to finally read that, dig into it. We'll see. I don't know. Not crazy long, so, or maybe I can find the audio somewhere for that week. I don't know. Koreadathon. I will leave the channels linked below too. If you're interested in seeing what all they've got going on, because again, they have all kinds of prompts, and then there's other non-reading prompts. I think one was like to read watch like a Korean movie or a Korean TV show. I try to cook a Korean dish. I love to try to cook some bulgogi. That's good in my belly. I think a couple other things. I mean, it just sounds like a fun week. I'm not going to be able to get into all of that again, like I said. But if I get to that one book, that'll be fun. My main focus is always in March, is middle grade March. I love middle grade March. I love reading middle grade books. And I love that middle grade March exists basically. So they have 5 prompts this year. I've got 5 books picked out. I don't know that I'm going to get to all 5 of them, of course, but you never know. You never know. One that doesn't actually fit any of the prompts. Well, I guess I lie because I added it on late. It does fit one of the prompts, so I'll just save it for that. So anyway. Okay, the first prompt, they do have a group book, which I'm not going to be reading. I will link the 3 channels that host Middle Grade March below: Crystal Books and Jams, Katie at Life Between Words, and Manda at the Curly Reader. List you all the information about Middle Grade March that you need down there. But like I said, they have 5 prompts, and this is a month-long readathon, which I love a month-long readathon. All right, so the first one is to read a book that has 5 or more words in the title. And I had already planned to read this year, The Legend of Skeleton Man by Joseph Bruchac. And this actually has 2 books. It has Skeleton Man and I think Return of Skeleton Man, I think is the second book. And I'll read both of them because they're actually that's like the first book, and then that's the second book. So I'll try to read both of them. Of all the middle grade books, this is like the for sure one this month. This one is also part of my books in the freezer challenge also. So this one is my for sure, for definite. Because I also, one of my plans was to read a middle grade book every month too. So this will definitely be the one I read for sure if I get to nothing else but that one. So okay, the second prompt is to read a book that has an orphan as a main character. That's something that's pretty prevalent in middle grade books. And I'm going to finally read The Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman. So I haven't read it yet. So I'm really excited to dig into this one. I know it's about a little boy who is raised by ghosts at the graveyard. That's about the gist of it. So I'm looking forward to that. Let's see. Number 3 is to read a contemporary book. And I had put this one on my book because I really kind of want to get to a spooky book too. This is Dark Deep by Ali Condé and Brendan Reichs. I mean, look at this. There's like, this one's, it sounds so cool. There's like some sort of island. Some friends try to go, I don't know. It just looks like a fun, spooky book. Because I did have a last minute addition because I just hauled this book. It's called Res Dog, also by Joseph Prusak, who wrote Skeleton Man. He's written tons of books, but this came out last year in 2021. It does feature COVID-19 and then how a little girl at a reservation, Wabakanabi reservation, kind of handling the situation. So it sounds amazing and it's told in verse. I feel like I could read it pretty quickly, so I added that to the list also. Okay, so the fourth prompt is to read a book that is set in Asia or has an Asian character, and I picked out Hello Universe by Erin Entrada Kelly. One of these characters here is an Asian girl. I think it's the little girl here on the end, but I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. This is also would knock off my sort of long-term goal of reading Newbery winners. This was a Newbery winner for 2020, I believe it was. Let me see, what was the year? 2017, I'm sorry. Is that right? Anyway, it doesn't matter. This is like a kind of an adventure story. Friends that, well, they're not friends, I think they're just kind of put together in this situation, and maybe they're lost in the woods or something. I don't even know. I'm gonna be honest, but I just want to read it because it sounds good. And then the last prompt is to read a book that's older than you, and I'm gonna go for Sounder by William H. Armstrong. This is a very slim novel. It's also a Newbery winner, so that checks that mark off. But this sounds really wonderful. This was written in 1969, so it's definitely before I was born. So Sounder. Let's see, we follow a poor African-American boy in the 19th century South. The boy's father is a sharecropper, sort of struggling to feed his family in hard times. Night after night, he goes out with his coon dog, Sounder, I guess to try to hunt and find things, but they just kind of keep coming up empty. One morning, a sweet-smelling ham is cooking in the family's kitchen, and at last they'll have a good meal. But that night, an angry sheriff and his deputies come, and the boy's life will never be the same. Sounds pretty heartbreaking, but also sounds pretty wonderful. I mean, there's a lot going on. There's a slim little story, so I'm really looking forward to this one. I can definitely get to this book too, because it's pretty short. So yeah, that sounds great. And Lord, I think that's it. Lord, if it's not, then too bad. I ain't gonna get to it. So that's it. Let me know. Are you doing middle grade March? Do you do Koreadathon? Or do you do like March of the Mammoths? Or I think there was like March Mystery Madness. Do you do any of the March? March always seems to be so busy for events and readathons, and it's a fun time. Let me know if you've read any of these. Are they good? Did you like them? And that's gonna do it. And thanks again for watching another long video. I'm sorry. And that's it. So I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks, friends. Bye.